Jason, when I met him, he was signing Power Ranger autographs at a Christian church. I was doing a show at about 6, 7 years ago, and we became friends. I don't know why, but we did, and we do a lot of shows together. And then at the time, Jason had just gotten rid of a RoboCop car that he had, but he had been part of Star Car Essential, and he had a Ratchet, which is the '84 Toyota from the, it was a '74. Anyway, it was an old Toyota that looked like a Transformer. So he immediately hooked up with a new guy that we had in the group, Jason Ybarra, that had the Power Rangers, and he started doing shows, and he became a core member of Star Car Essential very fast. I'm one of the directors of Star Car Essential. I'm also a core member, and so it was nice to bring Jason. He started doing a lot of shows, charity shows. And from that, he built this stupid thing called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, and he started having a banner year, and then he ran into a man by the name of Danny Bravo that, that's the man I ran into. And basically, they created the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle suits that you saw out there if you got a chance to see them. They're about $3,000 a suit, maybe $5,000. I mean, they're incredible suits. If you saw them today, if you didn't, you need to see them because they're sweeping the nation right now. Jason is the celebrity up here. We're just kind of humbled to be sitting next to him because he's doing something somewhere in the United States every single weekend. So Jason, next to him is Mike. Mike Esch is from Albuquerque, Mexico. That's all you need. That's what it is. Mike has one of the original screen-used Batmobiles from the movie, from the TV show. It was the car that you saw in the cave that never really drove or anything. He didn't know that until we were all doing a show together and ran into somebody that had worked on and restored that car. So that's a bit about Mike. I'll let him tell you the rest. And then my name is Doc Nigh with the Fireball Road Adventure Rally, which is a reality series that's been on since 2007. I started the show in 2008, and we're 40 teams on an 8-day, 2,500-mile mission-based journey where we go across the nation, each team representing one of America's missing children. And to date, off of 7 seasons, we've located 42 abducted kids, making us the world's largest child recovery program of our kind, and a really cool reality show. We're on every channel you can possibly think of now, and we have over 48 million viewers, and that's going to change because we just added Roku, Smart TV, Google Plus, Google, Amazon Fire TV, iTunes, you name it. So, and that's where we are. I'm here with the Delorean Time Machine, Batmobile, and a toy.
Hey, I got a question for you.
So, there you have it.
Can you see out of those glasses that you're over here?
No, you cannot, and neither could Christopher Boyd.
So, wait, somebody's calling in with a question. Is that a caller?
That's okay. We'll take a caller question, please. We actually have 1,000 people here today. Most are just calling in.
So,
one thing I can add is if I spent 13 years with my Batmobile, and the things that have happened to me because of the car, from we all went to Oregon last year on donations, along with the Love Bug, some Transformers vehicles, to grant the wishes of three cancer kids who had one had terminal cancer. One had cancer 3 times since he was born, blind in one eye. So we got a call. We went there. We all got the call. We thought it was a calling. We decided to go up there. I was at work. A lot of us didn't have cash. We got up there anyway. And when we were there, not only did it change our lives, but I let the 17-year-old boy who was blind in one eye, his last car he got to drive was the Batmobile. I mean, he's still alive, but he's not going to be able to drive anymore. He's blind in one eye. All 3 of us put some of the kids in our cars. And one of them, Natalie, a beautiful girl that we knew, 17, had a blast with us being there. We gave her rides, and she passed away a few months after. But we found pictures of how excited she was on her Instagram. So those things change our lives. But there's always the fun part too. When you live in Albuquerque near the studios, the Avengers find out when they're filming it. The Avengers crew found out we were filming the car and wanted to pull a coup for DC. So they asked me to bring the car up, and I had a blast with Tony Stark and Ace Windu, as he called him, Also the Breaking Bad. If you guys watch Breaking Bad cast and come by to our little booth, you'll see what we call Breaking Batman. And all the Breaking Bad cast decided to have the car many, many times at the set just to goof off. They tried to find a way to put it in the series, it didn't happen. So if you guys have questions, the things that we thought never would happen have happened to all 3 of us. And then they have cars. I couldn't bring my car, but I brought the bomb. So you just can't get rid of the bomb.
Wait, is that thing ticking?
I'll go to Jason now.
Jason, try to be polite.
Very nice. So
basically, I built this van for myself like 4 years ago. I designed it off the toy, and since I didn't know how to do any of the work, I paid people to do it. So they built it for me, and I used to drive around back home in LA with it. People would be like, oh man, cool. And then every once in a while I'd get like, can you go to my birthday party? And just park the van there. So I parked it there. And I always told myself, I was always looking on the internet for costumes. I could never find a good turtle costume. And then one day last year in November, Dan, my partner now, not like that. Not that anything's wrong. All my friends that know me, they know that I was looking for this costume too, so they actually found him at a con in LA. I was working at the time, I was at work, and so all my friends were texting me these pictures that they had found from this con of him in this turtle suit that you now see up there. And I think I stalked him for like 2 hours trying to find him on Facebook and Instagram, and I found him. In 2 hours I found him, and I messaged him, and the only thing I told him in the message was how much. And he answered back like, who are you? What are you talking about? I go, that turtle suit you're wearing, how much do you want for one? And he's like, well, I've never actually sold one. This is the first one I've made. So I'll make you one for $1,500. He's like, why do you want it? He didn't know who I was. It was my personal page. So I sent him a picture of the van. He's like, oh yeah. I go, how long is it going to take me to get it? And at the time, like I said, he wasn't making them as much as he is now. Because now his free time is now making these suits. So he probably produces like 3 to 4 suits a week. And that's just all day, every day. Because he put the initial work was actually molding them out of clay. So each piece that you see on the turtle, the head, the shell, each piece had to be molded out of clay. So originally he made the turtle to be a body cast of him. So he had to make body casts of his legs and arms first, his body, and then he molded out of clay. If you guys know that I was Babu on Power Rangers, I have the Babu costume on my table.
Tell them how fast he made that.
Is it my turn or is it yours? You can talk.
I have to put up with it 24/7.
We're actually, you're lucky I'm not
I
saying.
said, tell them how long it took you to make that. I was impressed with that.
Oh, I was going to get to it. But if you want to tell me.
We're out of time.
What are you at a time? We have an hour.
I can talk.
No, okay, so the Power Ranger convention, which is a big convention in LA every 2 years, it happened 2 weeks ago in my hometown. And you have something you want to share with us? And I wanted this bamboo. Everybody, bless you. Yeah, I said bless you. So, everybody.
We put up with Jason, but barely.
A lot of my fans were messaging me, are you going to bring the bamboos? Because they all think that I have it. Like I brought the original one from the show and I have it in my house and I don't bring it out. And I go, no. And so I was talking to Dan about it. Now, mind you, Dan's very busy with these turtle costumes. It's like everything he does is turtles. And so I go, how long is it going to take you to make this suit for me? He's like, dude, I'll do that in a week. Now this was, mind you, this was like 2 months before the convention. And I go, all right, but also, you know, we've been traveling every week. Every week we're somewhere. A couple weeks ago, or last week we were in Illinois. There's a kid that just finished, a 5-year-old kid that just finished cancer treatments, and the family had a fundraiser it was a small town in Illinois. And when we found out that the family raised $5,000 to bring us all out of California to be turtles, we didn't charge them anything. We just said, if you can get us out there, then we'll go. So they have a small bar that was converted out of a house. It's a bar now. But the town got together in 6 hours and raised $5,000 from drinking $3 drinks. 6 hours they raised that money for us to come out. That's a lot of drinking. We don't know how many people fit in that house, but there was a lot of drinking. And so we flew out there, and they took care of us. They were like the nicest people we've ever met. We met the kid, everything. But the greatest thing for the kid, for us, and meeting the kid was, he didn't see us beforehand. He only saw us come out as turtles. We took pictures with him, obviously. But right before we left the event, we went out there as ourselves, and he had no idea. We're like, hey, we want to take a picture with you. He's like, okay. But he had no idea who we were. We took a picture with him. And we still keep in contact with the family now. But that was like one of the, besides the Oregon experience that I've had, that's probably like the second best one. You know, because it's for something better than ourselves. You know, usually, I don't want to say that all of us think that way, but you know, at certain points, you know, you have a car or you have something tangible. Sometimes you get a big head about it. I don't think we've ever gotten big heads about it, but
I didn't know what I was getting into.
Yeah.
I knew I didn't know I'd have a Batmobile, but I didn't understand the draw. When the police start pulling you over just to take pictures, you know, and you're thinking, and then the people start. I pick up soldiers coming back from service. I'm from Albuquerque, so I pick soldiers coming back from service, and just seeing the look on their face. One of them dropped to his knees, started crying because he realized he was home. Picking up kids and taking them to the airport for Make-A-Wish. You know, even picking up kids from school who've had a rotten year for whatever reason. So those things we started doing and realizing that the draw of the car was more than just having fun with it. And that's what I do. That's what all of us do from time to time.
But have you been able to perform on stage in real life?
So anyway.
No, but if you look, I can trump that.
Basically, I think what they're trying to tell you is that when we did this, I will tell you, I was one of those that I built the car for pure profit purposes. And in the process of doing that, things changed. Basically, in July, after a 2.5-year, $150,000 process to get what was supposed to be a $65,000 8 months ordeal, it was like Lucille Ball building a home. You keep adding something and it's funny. By the time you get finished, you're broke, but you have the coolest thing in the world. And what happened was we only did corporate events for 6 months. And then when January rolled around in 2008, I met Nate Truman, who was the director of Star Car Central. Now you're here today because you want to find out about the things that we know about building Star Cars. That's what this is about. It's not about Jason or Mike or me. It's about what we've done with their cars. So if this is something that you'd like to do, you could. But I don't think any of us understood what we were getting into. And in January of 2008, my corporate events went to 2% of what I do. 98% is charity. And I can actually say that these two people feel the same. As knowing as sometimes Jason is, he's got a great heart, and I've seen him do some really cool things and bring tears to eyes. And so with that, I think it's probably only fair at this point to say that this is really your show, and we're just here to try and help you. I mean, if you're, I know we would love to have a packed house and tell people, but not everybody wants to own the next Batmobile or Monsters coach or whatever. But if you have any questions, these are the people to ask. Jason's been with Star Car Central for what, over 10 years. I came in 2008 in January when I met Nate Truman. Nate is responsible for me joining the Fireball Run. He had a 60s Batmobile that still had one of the stickers on it. Had he not had the sticker on that car, I wouldn't be in the Fireball Run today. That's how small the world is. Because of that, I've been assigned 4 children to my car, and they're all home. I'm sorry, 3 of them are home. We're looking for the 4th one. That's a matter of time. Because the Fireball Run exists, 42 kids are home. We just added 2 to that, so it's 44 right now. And so the thing is, we're here to let you know what you're getting into, because it's not what you might think. So if you know somebody, or you would like to, or you have questions about what we did to get to the point we got, we're the people to ask, because we know we went through the blood, sweat, and tears. He's got a company that basically did his thing, and the work that he had to do, Mike here,
our friends that these guys know, every Friday night pulling something out of the car going, what's this? Master mechanics going, I have no idea what this car was, or what this piece is in this car. So a lot of labor, a lot of trials.
So is there a question from anybody out there as to something you'd like to know about our cars, or actually any of the other cars in Star Car Central? Star Car Central is the largest organization of its kind in the world. I'm the director of the Inland Empire, which covers all of San Diego and pretty much everything eastern LA up to Victorville. And so that means we deal, and he's the Mexico chapter.
I mean, I'm the United States chapter because I'm all over it.
So
we covered it.
So if you have a question that you'd like to ask us, if not, he'll take the whole hour and just ramble on.
So there's also, so Star Car Central is, this Nate Truman gentleman talked about, is out of Southern California, where that's the cars. The fleet, I call it the fleet, Jurassic Park Jeeps, DeLoreans, you name it. So most people, when they're getting a Star Car...
Don't forget about the Hiram Show car that nobody knows what that is.
Yeah.
Well, you have to go back to the black and white days of Rodney Crawford.
I mean, there's a Blues Brothers car out there. So in New Mexico, here's our chapter. The New Mexico chapter is my Batmobile, a Bumblebee, Camaro, one of the Breaking Bad RVs that gives tours, has a meth lab in it, which is really interesting. Sometimes we don't take that to charity events. And then we have the Lindsay Lohan Bumblebee, Lindsay Lohan Love Bug in Durango, when he pops in once in a while. So if you're in the States, I'm the person to talk to. Also, just because you don't have a Star Car we all always encourage people in the Albuquerque area or when we're out doing tours to come help us and to experience what we do with these kids, of all ages too.
Oh, we always need help,
Yeah.
and don't think you have to have four cars. We have a tuk-tuk, which is 3 wheels from James Bond. We have a bicycle. This guy has nailed it. Pee Wee Herman's bike.
Yeah.
His son even dresses like you.
Oh,
Think about this, when you show up,
his son.
they recognize what it is from their show. It may not be American Graffiti, maybe your dad, or depending on what car's there. Each car means something different to somebody else. And it's about hearing the stories and what those cars mean. And that's when it humbles you a bit. You're realizing the story of their grandfather who mentioned how important Batman was.
Or Highway Patrol.
Highway Patrol.
Nate actually came up with the name for us because he's very knowledgeable in Ninja Turtles. He's very knowledgeable in Batmobile, of course. I would be Back to the Future. You add about 150 more members with 150 different cars, and you've got Knight Rider, you've got Jurassic Park. We did a show July 4th at Lake Forest, and 10 Jurassic Park Jeeps. The whole theme of the thing was Jurassic Park people we found. So we're called, here's your new term for New Mexico, we're using it in California, we are cross geekers.
Cross geekers.
Because I don't know anything about that, what they do, but we work together, so we're cross geekers.
So think about this too, is some people will ask, I'd like to get a star car or build one to do the charities have fun also, and then we'll go through and tell you, here's what you're getting into, but here's how easy it is to do these vehicles. Some people just, a friend of mine is making a Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Jeep, which is pretty easy to make if you look at the TV show, right? It's in. Do we have to be 100% accurate? What's 100% accurate? Normally the things you see on TV, if you saw them in real life, the cars we do have to run, they have to appear, they have to show off. My Batmobile, we joke, is the Batmobile we led to believe existed, because my rockets fire, my chutes pull, the gauges all work, right? The Batphone still blinks and lights, you can't figure out how to put a phone in that thing, but, it has to be alive. Same with
You
this.
mentioned about being correct. So in LA, not that you see our cars on a daily basis, but it's more visible out there that you're going to see something like that, even if you're at the amusement park, right? Out here it's not so much prevalent. But I'll take Paul's car, the Back to the Future car. Paul's car, not one part of that car is screen accurate, okay? But you don't know that, right? When you see that
We
car...
do that on purpose.
What?
Oops.
Maybe I should sit here and you should sit here.
No, because then I'll touch them.
Yeah, I know. I'll punch you.
Okay, so Paul, that's going to end badly. Okay, so Paul's car is not really screen accurate, but you wouldn't know that. I didn't know that. We've seen people run up to his car, up to him, all excited. They got the cameras out, they're ready to take the picture, and they see him. Oh, this one's in the movie? No, it's a replica. Oh, and then the camera goes down. It's like, wait a minute. You just ran 1 mile because you saw it, and the minute that he said it was a replica, now it's nothing. It's like, where's your car? or there's people that pick apart our cars. There's people that watch the show, Knight Rider, or I want a picture of your shirt because my buddy has the best Knight Rider on the West Coast. My buddy's Knight Rider, he built himself, the old kit. And if you've seen any of the old Super Bowl commercials from last year with GE commercial, they have like a robot deal. That's his kit in the commercial. His kit was in the roast with David Hasselhoff. It's like the best thing out there. So anyway, we have all these fans of each different show. Like even my little toy car, which isn't even a real car. The reason why I picked the VW bus is because Kevin Eastman, who created Turtles, they had a bus in the comic strip, and that's why it's a bus. And you can see the resemblance of the toy and everything. But that's why it shows that. Did I want that car? No, it has no air conditioning. It sucks driving. But that's as accurate to the toy and cartoon line that I can get. So I made it out of that. But you get these people that, well, this isn't just like, my car is like, this isn't this, it's like, this isn't even a real car. This is based off my rendition of this toy. And I think it's pretty spot on, and a lot of people do, so I don't know why. But like even the Batmobile and the Back to the Future car, you get people nitpicking every little thing. It's like...
So my arch is a little bit higher than we call the #1 car, the real car. It sold for $4.6 million last year. The people, including Nate, my friends who were around the car, said that all our cars look so much better because they let this car go. It's sad, but it's sold to a gentleman in Arizona who's going to restore it. So if you think about it, which car do you want to... Our cars look like the cars out of the movies or TV shows. And they're meant to look that way.
That's pretty cool because the car should have sold for $20, $30 million. The A car that they call it, which is the most impressive star car of all, is the Batmobile. Yes, monsters are around first, but you got to realize that in movies, famous people, famous animals, no famous cars. Until George Barris came along and created the Munsters coach, and that didn't really take off to be as famous as it could have been. But when the Batmobile came out, here was this iconic car. For the first time in the history of the cinema and TV, a car was a starring role character. I came up with a system so for people that are interested in doing star cars, it puts it at a level of achievement. One, and there's like 4 or 5 levels. The first level is very simple. You can go out and buy a car right now, and you have that movie car. Buy, I think it's a '67 green Mustang. You are now owning a bullet car. Those are the first level of entry. Buy yourself a, they actually sold Starsky and Hutch version with the paint job already done.
The Gran Torino.
The Gran Torino, the 73, 74, 75, 76, whichever year you were watching. Okay, now, the first level is basically a car like Bumblebee, the Camaro, the brand new, or even the old one, you just tear it up. It's already there. Now, the second level is paint job. Usually that's the only thing. A Herbie would be falling under the paint job. Get the right model and make a vehicle, put the right paint job on it. Jurassic Park Jeep. These are all. And there's the third level. I fall under the third level, and that requires taking a regular car and converting things out of it. The entire Knight Rider would fall under that, okay? And then, and actually, Jason's car actually falls under the highest level along with the Batmobile, because even though he has a car, there's still a lot of things that are molded onto it that aren't, like on my car, and I guess you could probably say it's a level 3 car. But I think it was level 4, but I always considered like the Batmobile level 4. Here is a situation where you've got to completely mold a car. You just don't take a car off the lot from any year and create a Batmobile like you can a DeLorean. Go to buy an 1881 DeLorean, tear it apart and make it into my car. Everybody does. You do that with his? No. Now, what he was talking about, I haven't experienced the negativity in the population. I've never seen anybody come up and run a mile to my car and say it's a fake. We know we have an original car. My car is screen used, but it is not the Back to the Future car. There was a reason why we went differently for it, because I am a character in an active reality show with 48 million viewers. There is no way that we wanted to have a problem with Universal Studios. The car is 100% inaccurate. I can point at everything and show you that. But if you put everything together in the right spot, it looks very impressive. But it is the actual car from the show, from the movie, and not from Back to the Future. But we do pawn off a lot of that on there. So,
So if I may on the Batmobile case, so there's several Batmobiles, right? Like, you know, the Keaton cars, right? So Jeff Dunham, you know, the ventriloquist, he has a 66 car replica. He has the second Michael Keaton car, which God love the guy, but if you YouTube him and YouTube Batmobile, Jeff Dunham, you'll always see him broken down in LA somewhere with oil slicks. Poor guy, right? I met him when he was in Rio Rancho up north, and we had a great time together. We exchanged, you know, cards and parts and pieces, and I gave him a little Batmobile badge, which is back here. But he's looking for drivability, and Warner Brothers, when we talk to the people in terms of rights and all with the car, Warner Brothers was always with the Batmobile, you know what are you doing with the car? Well, I'm doing charity and just driving it around town. Okay, no movies, don't make a lot, can't put it on tour, but you can make as much money as you need to keep that car going, doing what you do. You know, have fun. One gentleman upset Warner Brothers so bad that they forced him to take the bats off. That's George Barris, the maker of the original car. So he had some replicas out there that he was shocked saying this is the brand of the original car. Well, you take off the wrong people and they'll clamp down. So when you watch Benchwarmers, when you watch Rockstar, the 2 Batmobiles you see there are George Barris' replicas, but there's no bats anywhere. So for a while he was, you know, out of favor a bit, so because he was pushing it. We don't push it with our cars. You know, so I'm lucky enough to where Warner Brothers said, have fun. Do what you need to do. You know, these guys a little bit more. It depends on what studio you're working for.
well, doesn't Warner Brothers make you sign up paperwork saying you'll do certain things? Or
no, they send you a list saying, do not do these things with the car.
You'll get that.
You'll get that, and then they leave you. And for a while, George Barris was trying to get our cars back. So he sent us these letters. It's my car. He let the patent run out in the 80s. You know, Warner Brothers sent us a copy of the legal letters, and Nate's got one, I got one, that says, leave these people alone. They own the cars outright. You sold them off. You know, life is good for them. They're doing really good things with them. Back off. They just feel better.
By the way, the reason why that car went for I think it was 4.3 million, but by the time you add all the fees and everything, there's like another $300,000 to $600,000 in fees. That was going to go, we were expecting it to go between 20 and 40. Barrett Jackson is one of my sponsors. I go to all of that. That was at the Scottsdale one, and Nate Truman stood next to that car while it sold. Let me tell you about the reason why it sold for that. Because the most iconic car in the world would sell for $4 million. One, obviously the economy, but it didn't matter. There were it got down to 2 billionaires in the front, and they could have. They were not going to give up. They were not going to give up. They could have spent $20 million and it wouldn't have affected their pocket.
Yeah.
At one point, at $4.3 million, one looked at the other one and said, "Listen, Frank, or whatever your name is, you know it. You can buy it, and I can buy it, and we can bid our way up to $100,000, and one of us will finally get it, or we can flip a coin right now." The Batmobile was sold on heads or tails of 2 billionaires. It happens.
We were scared it was going to go. There was a Saudi Arabian prince rumored to be on the phone trying to get the thing. So nobody wanted the icon to go out. You've never seen a bunch of men holding hands together, just please, 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 please. And then when these two guys were like firing it out, one guy, Rick Champagne, lives in Tempe, the other gentleman lives back east. We're like, they stay in America, we're good. So.
And I think I'm one of the only ones that's dodged a bullet so far because, to be honest, I've had the van for 4 years, and yeah, I've been on Facebook and stuff. But ever since I got these costumes in November, I've been on fire. I've been everywhere across the country. Like I said, I've performed with Vanilla Ice on stage doing the Ninja Rap in Texas with the suits. I've done so much high-profile things that so everybody wonders why Nickelodeon or Paramount doesn't come after me. You know, and when the new movie came out, Paramount, the studio actually, because I work for the studio, but I don't work there all the time, so they don't really know that I have this. But Paramount actually called me a week before the opening of Turtles, and they wanted me to come out with the costumes for just for the studio for a party. And once we got down to the price, because they didn't want to pay what I wanted, and we got down to what they were going to pay, then it became an issue of are our costumes legal? Now they didn't ask me that, which was weird because they didn't ask me that question because they wanted to get me or try to trick me. They just wanted to know if we had a copyright, and I said, no, you know, we're just cosplayers. We're dressing up and we're having fun. And they're okay. Well, we still need to talk to legal because this was an events department at the studio, so we need to talk to legal. But they weren't going to talk to them to try and get me. They already told me that. So about a day later, they called me back and they're like, okay, so legal says because you're not copyrighted, we can't pay you. So I go, great, I have a solution. We'll just do it for free. Because that's publicity for us. If we're at the studio, that's publicity. So they got the event guy got all excited. She said, okay, let me call him back. And then she called me back 10 minutes later. And she's like, you know what? We can't have you free or pay or anything. Just legality reasons. So, but I'm going to keep it on file and we'll just go from there. So at that point, now they actually have my phone number. They actually have the ways to get in contact with me, where before it was probably just Facebook or whatever. And we waited a whole week. The movie came out. We even did a big deal at the Dome, which is, if they don't do the movie openings at the Chinese theater, they do them at the Dome. And the Dome is actually blocks away from Paramount. So we did the whole weekend there at the Dome, in the turtle suit. So they could have just walked up there and said, here's a letter, stop doing it. And look how long it's been since the movie opened, and I haven't gotten one phone call. We went to Illinois for that little boy. We were on CNN. We were on all the local news stations. But it made it all the way to CNN. CNN aired the story of us in the suits and with the boy and everything, and we were in all the newspapers. And so Nickelodeon had to come after me. And everybody's wondering why. It's like, and you know, we only do like charity and we don't do nothing bad. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe because we're not the new Turtles, we're not the new cartoon, that we're not infringing on their stuff. But in the real world, with the Batmobile and the Delorean, they would have already come after me. So we're just still crossing.
Well, we're not becoming millionaires. Let's say that. I've got a lot of people coming up to me and saying, man, you must have made a buku bunch of bucks. Well, first of all the money that goes in my pocket, I actually cover. So like this here, this has actually got signed by Goldie Wilson, but these sell for $25 unsigned. Okay, I will tell you, I pay half of that for it. Okay, about anywhere from $12.50 to $15 per card, depending on which model it is. All right. I don't go, okay, you pay $25, I put $12.50 or $15 back in my pocket. I make that donation. if you're willing to, my rule is if you'll take a step towards me, I'll take 2 steps towards you. Okay? I think if what Jason's saying basically is this, that if we were out there smoking it and living in big mansions and driving fancy cars and jets, I think Universal would probably want to know a little bit more about me. But we're not. If anything, I think I've lost money doing this. Okay, but how do you consider it
for the
loss?
money.
For me, it's missing children. You know, but for both these guys, it's charity.
I'm trying to get a date.
It's just a different thing. Well, we've been trying to get Jason married. That's another battle. So, oh, by the way, we're being filmed. StarCarCentral.com. Nate said if I don't
You're gonna
mention
stay
that,
like
StarCarCentral.com.
Oh, you're gonna say like .com. What's that?
Yeah,
And
good.
Then TeamTimeCar.com.
StarCarCentral.com.
TMNT or TMNTvan.com.
ABQ Batmobile.
ABQBatmobile.com.
You gotta say it and spell it.
So on a side note, so I'm lucky enough to be what they say under the radar in New Mexico because in California I can't run that beacon at all on the city road because
But you can at Coquille.
but I can at Coquille and I can in Albuquerque, right? Please come up and they'll say where are you going? And I'll say going to the airport with this. I was kidding Jeremy a few years back and he goes, where are your escort? Really? Yeah, all of a sudden I have 2 motorcycle cops. Then I have 4 cars. And we have a squad. It looked like the President's motorcade, right? They just jumped on and we took this kid to the airport where they were waiting with them to take him to Disney World just on that. So there's fun. There's a lot of fun with getting these cars, having these vehicles. It breaks your heart what these people go through. But on the flip side, it's really cool to cruise in a Batmobile, even though it's 6 miles to the gallon, everybody. Depending on who I talk to, if it's a little 5-year-old kid, it's a Pratt Whitney Maybach jet engine, okay? Because you look at the pulsating in the back. To everybody else, it's a 460 V8 with a Ford 4,500-pound car, 6 miles to the gallon on a good day, and there's no airflow. So Batman and Robin never fought crime in New Mexico, especially during monsoon season. So whenever you see a picture of me driving the car, you'll see my hand up like this. Why? Because the air goes up and over the canopies, and it's still in that car. So the heat, 90-degree heat, you're just sweating. And you're like, I'm in the evening, I'm out in the morning. Those things you find out. There's nothing like finding out an astronaut wants to ride in your car. That Peter Mayhew, Chewbacca, was in Comic Con. Do you mind if I sit in the car?
I was standing.
Yeah,
That's
and
funny.
yeah.
He
7
couldn't
foot
fit in my
three.
car.
He couldn't fit in the car.
Yeah.
There's pictures at my booth. You can see his hands are on the steering wheel. Each finger, I swear, it was like this thick. And it's just. And then we're talking Batman, and Peter talked about what it meant to him, right? Not Star Wars at all. And at the end, he goes, "Oh yeah, may the Force be with you." I'm like, "Yeah, sorry." We talked Batman. When people get in. As nerdy as macho as some of these stars are, as celebrities, they get in and they just nerd out based on what car they want. You know, to them it was childhood memories. I asked Ray Park, "Would you mind?" He was halfway to the car this morning before I even made a comment. "Yep, here's my camera. Take pictures." You know, Ernie Hudson, the Ghostbuster. He's named my car. I'll tell you what he named it in private, but and that's not appropriate here. But one thing Ernie Hudson did is, when he spent time with our car, having fun at it, he goes, "You take pictures of me in the car so I can show my kids, so I'm cool." And they blew, "You're Ernie Hudson. You're a Ghostbuster."
You're already cool.
He goes, "This makes me cool."
Yeah.
You gotta be kidding me. Nice guy, you know, great people. So that's one positive thing is the people you meet. I suffer from, I had an old brain injury years ago. It slowly caught up with me. I had to quit working, went on disability, got scared because I had the car, but didn't know what to do. A 90-something-plus-year-old man at a car show was standing out there with his cane, watching me with the kids, and he comes up with his cane and he bashes me right in the chest, and he goes, "Never sell the car." And he smiles and walks away, and my son Travis was up there and said, "That's you coming back in time." So I realized, and my wife said, "Keep the car," because I was paranoid. We were out of work. I've had the car, I've been out of work for 4 years on disability. This is what I do. I choose to do with my retirement/disability. Is go to shows, let you guys see the cars, encourage other people who want to do cars and what it entails. The Breaking Bad already, not the most kid-friendly star car, but he's having a blast now because he's doing charity work on his own now for different charities, you know.
Well, Star Car Central and Colorado movie cars, and there's a ton of them out there, spread France, okay? I know probably every DeLorean owner there is And we're a small group, even though we cover a lot. And it's hard not to be, because there's not a lot of people with star cars. Let's face it, when I open my garage door and bring out Back to the Future car, there's not another one within 2 miles. That's a joke.
2 miles?
But there is though.
4 months after
States for me.
I moved into a new house a year ago in Lake Elsinore, California, and 6 months later, Back to the Future Part 1 car moved in 2 miles from me. Go figure. But the bottom line is you do become a small group, and as far as what he was saying about the community and stuff like that, when I was saying that I haven't really had a problem with you people, we all found out, and I learned this from Nate, who is the guru for us and started all this stuff, when he took his Batmobile, 60s Batmobile, to the Cruces for the Cure, which is the largest single-day car show in California, and the Mustangs parked next to him. And he found the guy with the Back to the Future car, and they got along, and that's Star Car Central was formed. And that man was Danny Bogdan, and he went on later to build the car that you see out there now. And I will tell you, there's 3 builders in the country right now. So mainly, there used to be 4, but one guy's kind of put it on hold. So what was once rare of mine is now starting not to be. If you have enough money, you can get any vehicle you want. They'll create anything for you.
They have an Ecto in their chapter.
We have full
Ghostbusters
yeah.
Ecto.
But what I was going to say about the people is what I found out is I was on the Grapevine, which if you know anything about California, the Grapevine is that mountain range. I was living in Bakersfield. The reason why I moved on that side was I know I can't get them to come to gigs over the Grapevine, but every week I was going over the Grapevine to go 2 to 2.5 hours to get to a performance every week for a charity. It was $200 out of my pocket every single week. At the time I was employed and it was good money I was making, so it didn't matter. Now I'm retired, it's not quite so. But so I moved to take a little bit of the edge off the car, going over the Grapevine every month. The repairs, I was spending $4,000 a month on repairs. Okay, I narrowed it down now to $2,000. It doesn't come out every month. Sometimes I go 3 months without paying anything, and then boom, and it's like a $10,000.
Like, boom, my engine is blue. So a month ago.
I've had that happen. So basically what I found out was I was on the Grapevine and a guy frantically pulled me over. Now I don't like being pulled over. I'm a retired cop. I don't think it's a good idea to stop in the middle of the freeway, but this guy was in a Beamer dressed in an Armani suit, and I told myself, there's something more to this. I don't know. Maybe I'm dragging something. I pulled over and he got out, and here's the first words out of his mouth. Is it for sale? Is it for sale? And I'm like, you pulled me over to ask me if you could buy what? The car, is it for sale? I have a buyer. I said, so arbitrarily I threw out there, yeah, it's for sale, $1.5 million. Sold! I go, what? Wait a second. It's not worth that. I paid $150,000 for it. That's 10 times what I paid. He goes, it doesn't matter. It's a chic. It's going to go to another country. And I said, whoa, wait a second. This car is not leaving this country, and you don't have enough money to buy it. Okay? So I did it. A year later, in 2009, I made a comment at the convention center in Anaheim to a styling, I think they're called Styling American, anyway, interview. That interview went viral whenever they said something about the car, and they said, how much is it worth? And I said, $1.5 million. Now, the proper answer to that is, how much is it worth? Well, I've been asked to buy it for 1.5, not what it's worth, but what somebody was offering me. And I've always felt that you're only good as the last paycheck. Whatever the highest amount you make, that's the highest that you're worth, okay? And he didn't pay me $1.5 million, so the car's not worth that. But I've been offered that. But because I didn't say it that way, the Delorean community, the Back to the Future community, on a site called DC Talk, bashed me to tears. Nate Truman went on, and then they bashed him for tears. This must be your mother coming. And I'm a very nice person. I don't try to piss people off. I'm just like trying. So every reply back is basically, I'm sorry, I said it wrong. Maybe it took weeks before somebody finally came on and made a suggestion that could follow the whole thing. It still comes around back to haunt me to this day. When I went to Nate, he said, welcome to Star Cars. I found out that the Herbie guys have it, the Batmobile guys have it, the Knight Rider guys have it worse. There's 42 Knight Riders in the Southern California area owned under Knights of the West Coast. They hate each other.
They hate Alex more.
They do. Alex is the guy who's telling me that does all the shows. Now, I don't know about the Ninja Turtles, but just on the flight over here, what he was telling me is enough to make me cringe.
So the Batmobile community is pretty mellow right now. But
yeah. I mean, this is something you have to consider when you get into this. You know how I go about it now? Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise. Say something about them, and not only do they not care, they probably never hear it. When the tabloids come out, they don't care. They don't read them. But don't be Joan Rivers and pull down the
So-
president and the wife because you'll end up dead in 2 weeks.
So if I may, okay, so, star car, let's go on the opposite end. So, some people say, I can't afford a star car. You must be rich. No, I'm not rich because I have a star car. But usually it's, when you have a star car, you go into, especially a Batmobile, you go into a shop to get this little part here, which came off the car, which nobody can figure out. So the first thing they ask, no, it's a Tron. So it's gone. So you walk into the shop and you'll say, I need this. And they'll say, what kind of car? And I'll say, don't ask. Because you won't have it. And so on and on we go. Come to find once in a while we find out that, oh, this is a Mack truck brake light race. So the star car people, especially people building new cars, we have sources for everything. If you're either making an aftermarket, because we know we can't find this gyro axle pre-sub-inertia photomechatronic oscillator anywhere. Which is, there we go, And I bought my Batmobile for $15,000. It was trashed. It was sitting in the Pacific Northwest. It had been out 3 or 4 months because the guy who was handicapped couldn't deal with the car anymore. I got hurt. And he had the car on a Galaxy frame and it was cracked. And he said, you find a Lincoln Continental, we'll swap. So a Lincoln Continental had the same wheelbase, the body would fit on top. So is this still a number 3 car? It's been cannibalized so many times. We found out that put it in the trunk probably, and this part probably, but to the kids, it's the Batmobile. So some people will come by and say, it's not the real Batmobile. It's not the number 1 car. And I'll say, this is the car you really believe it. But to the kid, he doesn't care. It doesn't matter.
Hey! Alex Wong. Nate Truman was the voice of Kid at Universal Studios when you sat in the car and you asked it a question. So if you were at Universal Studios in the 80s and you sat in the
little kit car.
Little kit car, you were talking to that. Well, when he got done doing that, they gave him a piece of the car. It was a little thing underneath that you don't see. It was like a tube or something, I don't know, whatever it was. He took that and he later owned, which he was going to sell for $30,000, but after, what's his face, David Hasselhoff did a commercial and smashed a hamburger into it, he was able to get $60,000 for the car. He put it up underneath the car, and here was the question. He says, Paul, a lot of times you get the question, you're going to get the number 1 question, is this the actual car for the movie? Well, I can't say yes. He goes, I've got a part underneath there. So he goes, some parts are. So we have, in Star Car Central, we have the actual real deal. We have the replicas, and then we have the ones that I call cannibalized, or what I call Frankensteins. And that is like Brian. Brian took a Herbie from Jennifer, or
Several Herbies.
From what's the Lindsay Lohan movie, which I guess was the bomb. But he went back there, and they let him back there at Disney. And so if you look at Brian's car, like the hood is from this movie, this seat is from this movie, this is just a regular Volkswagen, this is from the movie. It's like, does it grant it to be a star car? I think it does, and I'll tell you why. I normally bring some screen use. I own one of the largest Back to the Future museums in the world. Normally at a show like this, I'll bring the baseball bat that Griff swung at Martin. This is the actual bat that he swung at Martin, not the telescope. And the telescope from 3 that Clara gives Doc, because they're easy to travel with, okay? But like, in his case, there's nothing on that could be original, because that was a cartoon. But it's the only one in the world. Ain't that cool? You're looking at a vehicle that nobody else in the world can see right now. And it's not like you can say, well, I'm looking at mine, but there's another Back to the Future out there, there's another Batmobile out. No, we understand that. But there's no other, there have been a couple I've seen that have attempted to do what this man did, and they failed drastically, okay?
And we're not doing it to be completely 100% accurate.
No.
We're doing it to people to go, whoa, there's the time car from Back to the Future.
I want to add that I could have bought a BMW or a down payment on a house, but I decided to build that.
Does everybody know what the time circuit switch is on my car? You know that black knob that Marty turns that turns the time switch? You know what that is? Okay, remember, Kevin Pike was the guy that built the car. He was the special effects supervisor. The 3 most important people in building the car. Andrew Probert, who designed the car, who also designed something called the USS Enterprise, the Ferengi, and everything Battlestar Galactica and Airwolf. Okay, second, Michael Chaffee, very good, also a good friend of mine. He designed a car called Knight Rider, and he did all the insides of the Back to the Future car. And then Kevin Pike was my agent for 2 years until I realized I'm too big for an agent. I don't need to give anybody 10%. And he is the guy that built the car for Universal Studios. Between those 3 guys, I can tell you everything about that car. I'm one of the 10 people in the nation that have the knowledge I have on DeLoreans and Back to the Future. And I will tell you this, when they bought parts in 1985, they went to a junkyard. And in 2014 right now, you can get one part right now that I have on my car. And when it breaks on my car, I go to Pep Boys and buy it. That knob, you ready for this? Is a battery terminal cleaner. If you take it, they're black, and they have a thing here that you take, and there's a handle that comes like this, and you put it on the terminal, and go, and it's got wires inside that clean the terminal. You pull, now this sides are a clear kind of frost. You pull this off, and you've got a scraper that goes inside. You pull this side off, and you've got a wire brush. It's wonderful for cleaning battery cables and battery terminals. You put those on, glue them on, spray the whole thing flat matte black or gloss, put it on there, attach it, and now you have a switch to the DeLorean time machine circuits. The idea was, if you look at my car, you see an ammo box at the back. Remember, Doc may have been in the military. Doc was somebody that built a time machine in his garage. There is nothing on that capacitors. Okay? There's nothing on that car that you probably don't have in your garage.
So switch to the Batmobile real quick. Do you remember the famous scene where, well, if you watch my movie over and over again, when the Batmobile hit the afterburner, there was a little bit of flame and they take off. On the original car was a 5-gallon metal bucket, a paint bucket. That's all that flame burner was. Okay? It's all it was. Okay? When we got it, we had to build an aluminum thing because we wanted real fire, but then we found out fire is just bad. Fire melted the parachute packs, and fire kept bubbling the paint. So you take the tube off, you repaint it, put it back on. For 2 seconds, the blast is not much fun, right? And some of us have flame, like Nate's got flame. I don't. I have LED lights that pulsate. The faster the car goes, the more it pulsates at you. I can do any color I want. It's safer. Life is good. Plus, in the trunk, when you open up, you have a propane tank and a gas tank, and you have an igniter that looks like your furnace at home because it just there's a little electronic igniter and then flame. And why is that bad? It's not a good thing. So I got rid of all that, right? It's safer for me, safer for the kids, because my kids always get in the car, along with everybody say, what does this do? First thing they do is grab handles, hit buttons. We have to tie things off. And I tell people, this car really works. Yeah, sure, shoot. They go with the chutes. They plop out, and they're sitting, and the wind picks them up hours. So you'll notice my parachute packs when you look at the back of the car, there's tie wraps, because people always do this. Ray Park did it this morning. I asked him, don't touch it. He yanked it, you know. There's a cable running in the back that pulls them. Those things happen.
Fortunately, I don't have that problem.
Yes. When you look at the beacon on top of the Batmobile, that famous little caged red light, the siren light they call beacon, the red light that flashes, that cage itself is off. It's turn it upside down. It's a 1930s, 40s spotlight set, a follow spot from the studio. It's the cage that they had on it. Now mine is not. I had mine rebuilt because the cages are long gone. So, but that's what they use in the Batmobile. In TV shows in the 60s and 70s, it was like, what can we find? You guys know Lost in Space? Lost in Space, Planet of the Apes, Batman, and Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, or shows from the 60s. They're all being filmed at the same time on the Desilu lot, Lucy and Desi's, right? The Bat computer is the same computer on the Jupiter 2, which is the same computer in the Sea View, which is the same computer on the Planet of the Charlton Heston ship. You'll see this long box with lots of blinking white lights. Okay? They just picked the prop up and moved it to the other set because they had no money. We do the same thing with our cars.
Mr. Fusion is an alien.
Yeah.
Mr. Fusion is in one of the first Alien movies. Watch it really close, you'll see it.
And Mr. Fusion is a coffee maker,
It's
right?
a Krups coffee grinder. Everybody, that's
On top of his car, look.
Everybody says, you got the food processor. No, it's a Krups coffee grinder. The reason why you're calling that is you see Doc open it and put banana pills and stuff. It's a Krups coffee grinder. Now, any entrepreneurs out here? Ready for this? They're discontinued about 15 years now. They come up now every once in a while and broken in garage sales. The gal will want $1 to $5 for it. In California, we call that Jewing down to a nickel. You sell it, you buy it for 50 cents. Okay. What happens basically is we do this thing where we spray it and do all this kind of stuff, and by the time it's Mr. Fusion, it's $250 to sell that second, $500 for standard price. Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, because you asked me for that a while ago, and we went to a story.
Well,
We'll talk to you out there. Come to the booth, we'll talk to you.
I've asked for a question, but we don't have a questioning group here. Somebody's got to have questions. He says we got about 4 more minutes. So are there any questions?
No more stories.
Anything.
Do you know what the other 44, you said you had 42 new cars.
Oh, where, you mean
You know what the
children?
other two are?
The other two children have been recently located, and where they are right now, I don't know. One is back east.
Oh,
Yeah, when we have a child that's located, we let everybody in. It's a big deal.
If you look at there's a Hollywood Christmas parade, which in New Mexico, it shows up on TV on sometime during Christmas.
This will be our 5th year.
Yeah, so the star cars of LA are in force. You'll see them on a red carpet, you'll see Doc, you'll see, it's cool to look at. So remember that, grab it, DVR it, you'll see them in force. Again, there's 3 or 4 of us in New Mexico, but together, I don't know how many cars.
Any questions?
Any questions?
By the way, oh, we have a question.
I may have missed this part or not, but why did each of you pick the individual car that you did?
Because I watched it as a kid when I was a cartoon. I watched it as a kid, I watched the cartoon when I was a kid, and I said I wanted to drive that around when I was an adult.
I was days away from getting a hearse, because I built a haunted house. I was going to jack the thing up, and when my buddy said, I found a Batmobile, and it went from there.
Mine was simple. I went to a Back to the Future night in 2005 where they showed the movie, and that's when I met now my best friend Claudia Wells, who played Jennifer Parker, and also saw the car there. I made a comment, is it for sale? And he said yes, and that was the end. I was sold.
So, of course, we're all in our stands. Come ask us any
Yeah,
questions
you
you
can come
want.
up to us and ask us. Listen, with Jason here, he takes all the crowd, so we got plenty. Mike and I don't have nothing to do, so.
I got better pictures.
Well, I'll tell you
I
what.
got a Tori Spelling story after, if you want to hear that too.
Please spread the word. TeamTimeCar.com, very important to all of us.
ABQ
Albuquerque is the
Batmobile
ABQ Batmobile.
on Facebook.
And TMNTvan.com, and I'm also on Facebook and Instagram as TMNTvan.
And we're all out there. We're available 24/7 to talk to you practically. So please don't hesitate at a show to come by and say.
Can I take a picture of your red shirt? Can you stand right here for the picture, please?
I didn't qualified.
Thanks to Las Cruces Comic Con too. This has been a great show.
Oh, you got a car there. You bought those 2 vehicles from me.
Thank you.
Yeah, now,
Actually, he and I have matching Kit Hackins t-shirts.
yeah, we'll have to confiscate those out.
Well, you know what? We were very blessed to be able to do what we do. We enjoy what we're doing. Of course, we'd love to pack the house, but not everybody's into Star Cars. But I tell you what, we thank the 12 of you that showed up today. We really appreciate it, and the 3 workers out here. If it wasn't for you guys, we'd be standing up here listening to Jason.
I have better pictures of my booth if you want to see. I'm just saying.
And if you're into Power Rangers, I'm having a Power Ranger booth at 11, a Power Ranger panel here at 11 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. It's not on the program, but tell all your friends, Power Rangers, 11 to 12.
If you're into Breaking Bad, I'll tell you what Bryan Cranston said about the Batmobile. I'll tell you how goofy these people are.
And if you come by my booth and you tell me you were in here, which I can recognize all of you, I'll sell you this for $40.
And then I'll buy it for
$40. That's a break.
Thank you guys for coming, appreciate it.
Thank you so much.